Like I say, I was strapped to a chair, and Rodney had me, or someone had me in Vietnam, and they were thinking that that basically I was going to be dead in a couple minutes. Anyway, this was like 1960 or something like that, and I was strapped to a chair. I was about 3 foot tall. Um, anyway, it was 1960, 1950, some year like that, and they were saying that they had me, and I was going to be dead soon, and basically they were taking over. The Earth was under new management, and and that they owned this place and all this and that, and it was like 1960 or something. Anyway, like I say, like I'd tell Rodney and other people, Rodney was like 20 years old at the time or something like that. I'm not exactly sure, but they thought they had me, and I was going to be dead in about 5 minutes or so. Like I said, I am Lucifer Star. I don't think I even told them my name. Anyway, though, they had me on a base in 1960 or something like that, 1950 or so. Like I said, there was a 5,000-year-old or 500-year-old. Actually, I think it's 5,000. The desk was older than anything else inside the White House. It was a really old desk. It took up half the Oval Office. In fact, that's a lot of people are like, why is the Oval Office oval? Well, it had this massive desk in the middle of it. Like I said, it was a fireproof desk or something like that, and it was oval, and it was huge. And I think it might have actually been a dining room back then or something like that. I don't really know. Anyway, the desk took up most of the room. Anyway, the room was actually built around the desk, pretty much. It was this massive, like 5,000-year-old tree, whatever, that they had carved or something. I forget exactly. You'd have to look into the deep down dark records of the White House. Like I said, the White House was a steam generator for many years or something like that. And then eventually it became, like somewhere around 1920, it was converted over to a house or something. Originally it was something else, and then I converted over because it used to be my cannon base. I used to have a cannon in there. In fact, the bottom floor is designed that way because there used to be this giant cannon that went out the thing. And it would angle and stuff like that and change pitch and all that. In fact, that's why there is this little cutout because one ceiling is so high because a cannon used to be in there. Anyway, it's a cannon test site. It had sentimental value to me, and it was a deep, deep mine, and it was also a power station for a while. Anyway, and then there was also the Washington D.C. building. It's all really old. Like everyone would say that it's all really old. I mean, this place has been here forever, like hundreds of years. Well, about 1,000 years or so. The White House has actually been there. So anyway, it was a big cannon site, and they used to fire cannons. Anyway, just test shots, really. That they're messing around with cannons and stuff like that. It was one of my early cannon sites. So anyway, that's why the White House is actually there and what it was for. And there used to be like a base, and they also used to do tank testing in the back and stuff like that. Like I said, they would talk about Germany having Panzers and stuff like that. No, I had the Panzers. I had a full range of tanks between the light and the heavy. The little Shermans were just my light, cheap tanks. Tanks for everyone, basically. Thanks a lot, man. I mean, I'm LS, like Lucifer Star. German military, all that stuff. Anyway, though, I mean, my house had all the different varieties of tanks. You could walk out there and you could see anything from a Panzer to basically other things. JFK or Jimmy Carter would be like, "Oh, we captured those." Like Jimmy Carter when he got to the White House, they were like, "We captured those. Oh, we took down Germany," and they were lying. They didn't take down Germany. Those were my tanks. Those are my German tanks. Germany designed those tanks. So, anyway, I had 5 or 6. I had a full range, all my tanks at my house, basically, for a while there. For a while there, they were driving them around and basically wrecking the backyard, and pretty much I eventually told them to stop, and they moved the tanks away from there because it was just a bunch of kids or something running around driving my tanks and stuff. And they were shelling Washington, D.C., so Germany came in and basically ripped them away and took them back to Germany or whatever, put them in storage. Like I said, a lot of children would come along and start messing around with my stuff, and it's like they're like little brats just going around playing war or whatever. And it's like, no, you're not going to be doing that. Anyway, later on, JFK or Jimmy Carter was getting back at somebody or whatever, and they were torturing some Chinese inside the White House, and torturing some Germans in the White House or whatever, and doing all kinds of really messed up things. Like I say, anyway, his line was basically, "How do you like me now?" And all that kind of stuff. Now that he had power or whatever, I don't really know. I mean, basically, Jimmy Carter and a bunch of other people had tortured and killed a bunch of people, and gotten him into a position of something or other. Basically, it was all fake and all lies. He didn't really have any real power, and all he had to really do was be noticed. And like I said, there was just like 30 clones of the JFKs. I mean, everyone knew he was going down. Everyone knew that anyone associated with JFK and Jimmy Carter and basically the people that were in the White House were going down. I mean, it was only a matter of time. They ran the tank. Like I said, the marble fountain was from marble that was over 500 million years old. That was planned for 500 million years ago. I sold most of it, and then I wanted a fountain out at my White House. So somebody actually spent the rest of his days. It took him like 2,000. It took him quite a while. It was like 3 generations, and they finally finished up the fountain. This great big huge fountain made out of solid marble. Finished the old way. Like I said, the desk inside the White House was older, at 5,000 years or something like that. Like it was this giant desk, and it was made from genetically engineered hardwood that wouldn't burn. You could put a match on it, you could pour gasoline on it, it wouldn't burn. It would dull saw blades like they were nothing. Like I said, JFK or somebody tried to cut it with a chainsaw. Didn't work. I laughed about hearing about what they were trying to do. They tried to use a chainsaw on the desk. It wouldn't cut. They tried to use a skill saw or whatever. Wouldn't cut. They just kept dulling the blades, basically, and they couldn't cut it. So eventually, they tried taking sledgehammers to it. They couldn't break it that way either. Eventually, I guess they just used enough blades to cut it up. Anyway, they cut it up, and then they hauled it out, and they put that little piece of shit cherry wood in there or something like that, which isn't really old at all. That's only like 30 years old. They say, oh, this desk is old. No, they cut up the old one, and they moved it out. It was a lot. It was big. It was this massive square desk, that was inside the White House. So anyway, that's why the room was oval, because of the desk. The desk took up so much room that it filled the room. Anyway, and then of course there's my money press and everything else like that for printing money and stuff like that. Anyway, they moved into the White House like they owned the place basically, and started wearing my LS cufflinks and my LS gold watches and stuff like that. Anyway, whatever. Anyway, though, yeah, and then they ran a tank into my 5,000, my 500,000 or 500 million year old marble fountain. Like the marble was 500 million years old. The actual fountain was only about 2,500 years old or something like that, or 2,000 years old or something. Anyway, it was old marble. It had been lying around, this great big chunk, and they couldn't move it from where it was because it had to be so big. It was such a big fountain that they had to move it as one solid piece, and they moved it all the way down from a mountaintop and all the way across the ocean. Actually, they finished it up there. They finished it. Now they moved it all the way down the mountain, and then they finished it inside of a town, carved it and everything else like that. And then they moved it all the way across the ocean, and then they moved it all the way to the White House. And then in one piece without it breaking, and then they put it down on the White House lawn. Anyway, though, JFK said that guy's never coming back. He's never come back. He thought I was dead or something, or gone. Nixon had thought I was dead and gone, and never going to come back. Going to die any day now. So anyway, so they ran a tank into it and all kinds of stuff and destroyed it pretty much, and then they put that piece of shit little fountain in there. And all that kind of stuff. Anyway, whatever, I mean,